Okay, so many of you have received kits similar to these, and we're going to go ahead and be working on what's called a feather fan. Now, I know that this says a coop feather, and I'm going to go ahead and discuss that just very briefly before we continue. A coop feather is usually reserved for someone that has done a big thing in their life. Specifically, it's reserved for soldiers. Now, in this case, the kit actually does show you how to do all the different things, and the techniques that are included are very useful in terms of creating a feather fan as well, which is why we have included this kit. Now, we want to be respectful of those that have earned the right to carry the actual coop feathers, and as such, we are not going to do coop feathers specifically. But we are going to continue to use the same materials in order to create a feather fan as is used in prayer ceremonies. Now, the feather fan itself will be used very simply and very similarly to the way the coop feathers are used. Now, you should have feathers here, lighter feathers, a little bit of horsehair, a little bit of fur, some artificial sinew, some felt, and some suede. Now, it's up to you which way you're going to use these. And at this point, you should also have some leftovers from when you were doing your medicine wheel kit as well. Now, if you put your feather on the center of your medicine wheel, and if you only used one feather, at this point, you'd probably have 3 feathers left that you can incorporate into your feather fan. You can also incorporate spare beads, extra yarn, and other materials that might be carrying over. The needle itself will also come into play. So let's go ahead and go through this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to decide how you're going to lay out your feathers. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of extra feathers that I have available, and I will continue. Okay, so I have a couple feathers here. This one's from a guinea fowl, and this one is from a turkey. So I'm going to go ahead and use these feathers, but remember, you can use any feathers or materials that you have available. If you want to just stick to the feathers that are available in your kit, you can also do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out so you can get a good look at them. And we're going to see how you're going to attach. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and lay out your feathers exactly the way you want them to be. So I'm going to put this one here, one on top, second one, and then a third. You don't need to use every feather. You could also include the horsehair. You can use the smaller red feathers as well in order to make a more personalized feather. Now remember, the feathers themselves are what's important. Feel free to go outside and look for a few feathers if you have them available. Just be very, very careful which ones you choose, as some feathers are a little bit more illegal to carry. For children, you're usually given a little bit more slack on that. So we're going to go ahead and place the feathers. I'm going to leave these like so, and I'm just going to hold them in place. I'll put one little red one right there, and that looks nice. The next we're going to do is we're going to pull out this artificial sinew, and you're going to get about 4 inches. You're going to wrap it around your fingers, just like so, to make a loop. You're going to take the whole amount that you folded across, fold it around your fingers, wrap it around your fingers, and put it through. The next thing we're going to do after this creates a little loop. So you're going to go ahead and put your feather through the loop and start placing the rest of your feathers in the loop as well. This will help it to hold it in place while we continue to wrap. Again, you're going to continue pushing your feathers into that loop. It's going to get a little bit difficult, but just keep pushing it into the loop. You're going to wrap the felt around the base, just like so. And we're going to start wrapping the artificial sinew around the feathers very carefully so as to not damage your feather in the process. Now, if you're left-handed, it's easy to go ahead and wrap from the left-hand side, but if you're struggling, you can turn your feather instead of turning the string. You're going to go ahead and tie the top. Once you get it nice and tight up top, what you can do is you can go ahead, go around one more time, and then this time you're going to pass the string or the sinew through the loop going around to tighten it to your feathers. Next, you're going to wrap it a little bit more, and you're going to wrap it loosely this time, going in the same direction, and work your way down the base. Once you reach the bottom part, you're going to wrap very tightly to ensure that you have it nice and tight at the bottom. You're going to go around your feathers to create a loop, just like so. Go through and pull it tightly. At this point, you can wrap the leather itself, the smaller piece of leather, around the base and use the artificial sinew to tie it into place. Just like before, I'm going around to tighten it down and keep it in place. Now the key here is to use the artificial sinew to create your knots and to tie them down. Now, let's say, for example, you have some extra beads or something like that that you'd like to include. First thing, you want to make sure that you tie twice at the base to make sure that it doesn't come loose. It might be a little bit messy, but it works well. What you can do is you can put the artificial sinew on the needle. Now the needle was provided with your medicine wheel kit. You can pass the needle up through in the inside. So you can take thread up to the top. Instead of having it only at the bottom, and that way you don't have to wind it all the way up. So I'm going to go ahead and wind the leather once again, because it came loose earlier. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and tie it down. Now, what you can do to decorate it a little bit, if you have leftover materials from the medicine wheel project, you can use those materials to add some more personal touches. So in this case, like I said before, I used a couple of feathers that I had available. In this particular case, I had a turkey feather and a guinea fowl feather, but you can stick only to the feathers that are provided to you. It would still make for a very beautiful fan for your prayer fan. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this here. If you have any yarn that you had left over, you can add that as well. You can use these to decorate at the base These little tufts of rabbit fur can be used to decorate at the base. You can also include beads and personalize these as you see fit. If you have any questions, please feel free to push a message onto the Google Classroom. And hopefully you can have a wonderful fan that you can use during prayer ceremonies.